Hello and welcome back. Today, as you could probably tell by the title, I'll be taking popular horror icons and turning them into, hopefully, something that kind of looks like a Pokemon. I think my sketches are like really messy, so usually when I do speed draws, I'll just do the line art and color process. I think for this, it would be fun to see my process into how I ended up with the final designs. Okay, so the first one I went with is Pennywise, and I took more of his newer design and I went with that. He's infamous for that red balloon, so I started off with like a balloon shape, but I ended up not necessarily keeping too much of it. In this part, I'm starting to get his iconic clown neck thing. I'm sure that has a name. That has to have a name. I do not know it. I like it though. I really like the shapes in it. But I knew I had to have that in somewhere, so I try to keep like a balloon head and just incorporate that so far. I had the idea, you know those toys that kind of like wobble back and forth but they don't fall over? In my head, decided to base my design sort of off of that, and then I added the iconic nose because, you know, you have to have a clown with a nose. It was also weird because I told myself there were certain things I couldn't do. You know, I'm drawing a Pokemon, I can't just draw a man. But, you know, then I kind of look at Pokemon and some of them, they're just men, kind of. Not 100% like a man, but like some of these are really humanoid. Anyway, I wanted to get his hair in, so I ended up giving his hair area, well, what's supposed to be his hair, it's a horn shape. I did want to put his smile in just because I thought it was pretty iconic and an important part of the design. And I also put the teeth in just because I feel like it was missing something, so I wanted to have those in a little bit. And then when I get to more of the design, like I add in arms, I decided to make them bendy little guys. I guess in my head, like, he would either roll on his little body or like walk, well, I guess with his arms. And I put some stripes on his shirt because there's prominent lines in the original costumes. And I added some frills on his arms, like, and shoulder area, just to make it more like, I guess, like, to mimic the neck piece. And the costume has a lot of like frills in like the newer ones, so I just added some of those in there. I mean, I didn't give him legs. I don't know if I would do an evolution or if I would consider this like a standalone, but maybe if he were to evolve, he would gain legs. That's a thing they do, right? I'm sure some of them have gone from no legs to legs, right? Anyway, for the colors, I kind of just went pretty much based off the original colors of the design, like the newer design. And, you know, it's a lot of like light colors. I think if I were to give this one a type, I feel like it would be very dark. But I didn't want to stick too many colors in there. I wanted the palette to be kind of limited. So I decided just to make his hair red with the rest of it, to make his eyes stand out a bit. I definitely wanted them to be like a yellow, like darker yellow than like the rest of his outfit. Had to have those lips in there, those like clown markings, I guess he had in the newer one. I thought that would be pretty important to help tell who he was. And yeah, so basically that was my first design of what I guess I would consider, or this is my first attempt of making Pennywise the clown, the Pokemon. I'm not sure what I would name it. Would I just maybe just stay Pennywise, or I'm not sure. There's probably something from the source material that we could use as a name. I'm not sure what kind of moves he would have, but I'm gonna let you guys decide that down in the comments. If you want to play around with maybe what kind of moves it would have, maybe even like a good name for it. But for now, here's the finished product. Like I said, I wanted him to kind of look like a toy, like one of those wobble toys, but like obviously with clown aspects. So the second one I end up doing is Samara from The Ring. I forget what the original Japanese name for her is, but I know I'm more familiar with her as Samara. I knew I wanted it to be floaty. Her whole thing is she's in that well. When she comes out, she's all drippy. Her hair's all in her face and her clothes are like, you know, just, you could tell she's a very damped woman. Okay, that's not the best phrase. You know what I mean. So I thought instead of like having her look like she just came out of the well, I wanted her to look more like she was still in the water. I think in my head, if I had to give her a type, it would be Ghost Water, just because, you know, water is a big part of her character from like the well. And you don't see much of her, especially from far away. Her hair is covering most of her face, so if anything, maybe you get like peaks of her face, maybe you can see an eye. So I kind of decided to go off of that too and literally just give her one eye and have her head be mostly like hair-esque, flowy, wispy look that you get when you're in water. And I did a similar thing with her dress. I wanted it to be drippy, floaty, since I wanted to lean more into the water type. And then for the colors, you know, I basically just went with hues of blue. Since, you know, her hair is black, but I didn't just want to use actual black. I just made her hair a dark blue, alluding to the fact that it's black, but not actually black. And with her clothes, instead of making it just actually white, I decided to make a light blue, just to give her a bit more color. And then for her eye, I tried looking up what eye color she had. I think in my head I remember it being very clear. So I just gave her a very light green color, you know, looking kind of ghostly. And I gave her like a purple eyelid just because, you know, she's looking a little tired. Our girl, Samara, does not look, I wouldn't say she looks, you know, refreshed coming from this well. So I did go in and make her lines darker, mainly because I wanted to make the blue of her hair darker, and I didn't want it to be the same color as the line art. I added in some darker blue at the bottom. The original design, she's real dirty, especially the bottom of her dress, just so it wasn't one solid color. I'm not sure. Either way, I was happy with the way it looked, so I decided to keep it. And then when I go in with the shadows, I use some of the purple from her eyelid. That's the color I use for the overall shading. So I go in with a very light color, almost white, and just add in some highlights. And I really wanted her to have a ghostly glow. So I played around a bit with some colors. I think I went with the green. Yeah, the green from her eye. I didn't want to just overlay it over the whole design. I did play around with how that would look, but I ended up liking it best behind all the work rather than on top. And that's how I got the final design. Once again, I have no name for her. I guess like Samara would be a weird name for a Pokemon, but I'm sure there's something related to the movie we could think of. Please leave suggestions down below, maybe like some moves you think this one would use. And now, let's move on to the final one I did for this video. Now for the final design, I decided to try old Freddy Krueger. I think for this one, I had less of an idea of what I wanted to do than the other ones going in. So I started off with this circle for his head, just because, you know, Mr. Freddy Krueger is bald because of, you know, his situation. So I gave him a clean circle, though later on I do kind of add some fur. I wanted this one to definitely not look human-esque, so I decided to kind of go more with an animal look for this one, rather than like, I guess something more humanoid, if that makes sense. Now for this one, I had a big internal struggle because of his hat. I told myself I just can't put a hat on a Pokemon. Pokemon aren't born with hats, right? But I guess just to make sure, I did Google Pokemon with hats and realized that no, there is quite a few Pokemon that just have hats in their design. And I think some of them are like more obviously hats than others, but like some of them are straight up, hello, this is a hat on this Pokemon's head that we're just, I guess, supposed to believe that this is a part of the Pokemon now. I've always been curious about clothes on Pokemon. How does that even work? But anyway, so I decided to just be lenient on myself and just put in a hat shape because Pokemon do it. I did do some changes to it later on so it didn't look like just a plain old hat on this head. So leaning into the animal aspect or the animal angle I was going with, I gave him some sharp teeth. I wanted it to look like his hat was casting shadow, and at the time I wasn't sure if it was actually just going to be a shadow or if it was going to be a darker fur color. So for the time being, I just had it filled in with the line color. Here's like a cool fact about what happened. So I forgot to save after this point. I thought I did save, so I closed the program, and when I opened it again, I realized I did not save. So basically everything I did was gone, but using my big brain, I took a screenshot of what I recorded so far and pasted it in and kind of tried to adjust it to like where it was originally. If the line art gets weird or things look strange, it's because that's what happened, and I was working technically on a screenshot, but it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just the sketch layer. I went in and I decided he needed a nose. I think Freddy Krueger has a very prominent nose shape. Almost tried to make it look like a beak, but then I remembered I gave him a mouth and immediately rejected that idea. No more beak. I wanted him to look very unhuman, so I kind of gave him his little potato body. I'm not sure what to call it, but you know, just some Pokemon have this little, like this shape, and I didn't want to give him feet, so I kind of gave him like little stubs. I mean, it's not necessarily, I think, super important. I don't think Freddy Krueger is definitely known for his legs and feet. Like, that's his most prominent feature. And for his arms, I wanted it to be like one main hand that was clawed. I add a little bit of a tail in. I tried to make some of like the hat and the tail look like it was scorched, like fire did it, because, oh, I don't think I said it, but in my head, I was imagining him as like dark fire. No, I lied. Fire psychic. There we go. Just because, you know, Drowsy, his description says he actually eats dreams or something. And I think he's just psychic. So if you know, psychic Pokemon do that. I thought that was very fitting. And then I just added some stripes here and there just to go off his iconic sweater that he wears. You know, this absolute fashion icon. When I start coloring, I pick this orange color for the base or the body color. I do end up going a little bit lighter in the end just because it was such a bright orange. I go in mostly with reds and oranges, yellows, and there's like some green. I do end up making the green a bit darker, and then I add in like a dark red for some of the stripes. Well, in the end, this is what I have. I did not really, I think, go into it with as much mental ideas as I did some of the other ones, but I think it still came out okay. I think these might be recognizable. Here are all three of them. You know, I think, you know, looking back, I think they look great. We're on Gen 9, so, you know, I'm gonna call Game Freak, gonna tweet at them, ring them up and be like, here are your new Pokemon designs, you're welcome. can't wait to see this in Gen 9. So like I said before, if you have any name suggestions or move types, leave them down below, or maybe like any other fun prompts you might want to see. It doesn't have to be only Pokemon related. I just did it because I'm currently playing the new one and there's a bit of hype for the new generation that was like announced. I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry it was kind of weird and different, but I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you and sweet nightmares.